Good evening. This is Brian with the Hobby Rancher, and I'm talking to you in my car because of this. Temperatures today reached 108 degrees. So once again, we find ourselves in pretty bad drought conditions like we had last summer. The fortunate thing is it happened a little later in the summer, so we still have a little bit of hay. We're gonna go and check the cows. I'm gonna go ahead and move them to their new paddock. Fortunately, I have coastal hay, which is pretty drought resistant. It'll still stay green. The only problem is it won't grow unless we get some rain. Right now, I just heard on the radio, we've had 13 straight days of over 100 degrees. And it's been 28 days since any measurable rain. So we are extremely dry. My stock pond's almost completely dry. And I did go and buy 7 bales of hay as a backup, just in case I needed it before winter comes, but it looks like I'm probably gonna need to go buy some more hay. We'll move them to their next grazing paddock. So I'm on my way down to the cows. They're right over there. And this is what my stock pond looks like right now. I'll put up some video or some pictures of what it looked like just back in May. Today's what, the 10th of August? And when those stumps start showing up right here, that's when I know I'm getting kind of low. So I've never seen this stock pond get completely dry in the 6 years that we've owned the property, but unless we get some rain, that may happen this summer. So let's go move the ladies. All right, good evening, girls. You want to get some fresh grass? Ooh. Good thing I got the plastic tub, otherwise that would have been grounded. Turn that off, and they're belly aching at me. So before I move them out of their paddock, I like to just evaluate how short we graze the hay. And this is all Bahia grass right here. That's why it's brown. Anytime we see Bermuda grass, or green grass, it's gonna be Bermuda grass, coastal. And they did a good job of knocking all this down. In fact, may have actually overgrazed this. I'm still trying to figure out what size paddocks that we need, but it's just kind of trial and error since this is the first time I've had any cattle. They've kept them in here for 7 days. So we're gonna move them tonight to some taller, fresher grass, but they did a good job of knocking this down. They were in this paddock a week ago. The paddock was way too big. It's about twice as big as it should have been, so there's still a lot of standing grass. Over by the trees there, you can see some really nice tall coastal that I'm gonna save for later this month in case we start running out. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll up the hot wire and get them moved to that area right over by the trees over there. All right, well, I forgot to hit record, but I went ahead and rolled up this west side of the paddock right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move it over to the new paddock. So I just realized that my phone keeps cutting out when I'm recording because it's so hot that my phone is overheating. Like I said before, it's 108 degrees today, so I think videoing this evening is going to be a bit of a challenge, so sorry if I missed some footage because of that. All right, so I got my initial perimeter up, so I usually will put the wire up first with the terra post. So I'm gonna go down here right next to the pond. That's normally should be in about 3 or 4 feet of water, but we're gonna bring this perimeter right up here to this corner post right here. Go around, I think that's a spring, I'll show you that in a second here, and go around the spring and then connect right over here into the post after we took a 90-degree right there. So I want this paddock to be grazed, number one, because there's a lot of really tall, there's a lot of really tall, nice grass right here. So I want this to get grazed off. So this is, I think this is a spring, but it's kind of run dry during the drought here. Normally that's full, and it kind of constantly feeds into my stock pond. I think it's more of runoff than it is an actual true spring, because otherwise if it was a spring, it wouldn't dry up probably. But I'm not a geologist, so I don't really know. It's important to give them shade. It's 100 degrees plus every day, so I wanted to make sure there was trees in every paddock that we do. And I was just complaining about how we haven't had rain in 28 days. I'm trying to hustle to get this done because I'm praying that this will come our way and give us some moisture. So I'll try to hurry up and get this done and show y'all how I move the cows. All right, so I got the perimeter up with the O'Brien step-in post. O'Brien step-in post, excuse me. So I think this should be enough for the next 6 to 7 days. Clouds are beautiful today. It's gonna be a nice sunset. All right, so before it gets too dark and rainy, hopefully rainy, I want to show you the other side of my property's hayfield. You can see it's still pretty green. So I grazed this area right here where the well shed is. That was the first paddock that I grazed. And that was back in last week of April or first week of June. You can see they haven't been back over here because I kept them behind a hot wire. And this coastal hay, I'd probably say it's about 6 inches. So there's still a little forage they could graze off of this without overgrazing it like they did on that last paddock. I definitely had either too small of a paddock or they just didn't have enough coastal that they prefer. They didn't eat a whole lot of that bahia because it's a little more tough and it was already going brown. So this is the first paddock right here. Second paddock starts where these telephone poles are. And I'll put up on here also when I move them, how the line between grazed and not grazed was. So I overgrazed this a little too much because it hasn't really recovered very well. And you can actually still see some of the line. So that's where the grass is today. This is where the grass was back in a couple months ago. So I had an alleyway right here to get to the water, which is that water trough right there. And they just kept grazing and grazing because we were getting plenty of rain and it just got overgrazed. I've decided not to have an alleyway for the water for that reason. So where these trees are right here, this is our third paddock that I grazed them on for a week. And this paddock was a little smaller and they grazed it down pretty good. It's recovered a little bit, but not a whole lot. And it's probably not going to unless we get some more rain. And you can see over here, it's getting pretty tall. I'd probably say this is about, I don't know, about 7 or 8 inches, less than a foot. But this little half acre to acre right here, I can definitely graze. Now, like I said, we haven't had any measurable rain for about 28 days. But look how this coastal stays green. Like I said, it's not going to grow much, but it'll stay green, and the cows love it compared to the ryegrass that's gone dormant or the bahia grass that's gone dormant. So it's important to have a nice summer grass in your fields.
Unfortunately, due to the heat, my camera stopped recording again, so I didn't catch the footage of moving the cows from one paddock to the other.
water trough put up before, ooh, lightning, before I get struck. Oh my gosh, it's like 65 degrees. It feels amazing. And we're just starting to get some sprinkles. I'm so happy for the rain.
After searching forever in my barn, I finally found my float valve for the water trough. The rainstorm interrupted me filming the rest of my chores, getting the float valve installed. On the next video, I will show how we move the cattle, and those paddocks that I showed you, we're gonna go ahead and rope those off and get them moved over there. So stay tuned to the next video. In the meantime, enjoy the footage of a Texas thunderstorm, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.